RetroManiacs, how you doing? I'm just sitting here outside one of the local cheech shops because I was way too tired to drive out to the Resnick tonight to get fuels and marijuanas. So now that's not scissors or anything you hear chopping in my car or anything. But yeah, I just needed enough to tide me over till tomorrow because I can't not have cheech because then I'll get too sore and my back will get sore and then I get to be a cranky old man. So yeah. But tonight's video, I decided to do something a little bit different. I got lucky a couple days this week toy hunting. And I've been noticing over the years, I get a lot of, on my videos, wow, you're lucky, wow, you lucked out, wow, you're lucky. Luck is definitely part of it, guys, but it's not as big of a part as people would think it is. It's more numbers game. Like if you go there enough times, you're gonna hit sooner or later, right? But I'm gonna get into some of my strategies, some of the stuff that I have to go up against when I'm out hunting. Just to let you guys know, you're gonna be surprised with what I am up against. Like, you're gonna be very shocked. A lot of people don't realize how heated things are out there for this stuff, but we're gonna go over that, and you're probably gonna get a kick out of a couple of the stories I tell you. So let's jump in the time machine, because you guys don't want to drive home with me because I'm a crazy driver. So I'll load you guys up in the time machine there. Wow, guys, what a busy week I have had. Jeez, but you know what? I'm finally moved in. I'm out of the apartment, so I got more time to spend with you guys, which is awesome. And I'm 95% unpacked, which is good. I'm getting to see my daughter a heck of a lot more. I'm going to be seeing her Saturday night, which happens to be my birthday as well. I'm going to be 30 years old on Saturday. And yeah, but today it's going to be a little bit different today, a little bit of a mix mash. I thought instead of doing an unboxing video, I'm going to start it out with, well, we're going to be talking about the hobby in general, toy hunting. I'm going to give you guys strategies later towards the end. I've strung together a bunch of cool hunting clips and stuff like that. I did a voiceover. I'm going to be going over hunting tips, strategies with you guys. Telling you how I got started and how it's not an overnight thing where you can find stuff. Like, you gotta actually, there's strategy to it. Okay, you're not just gonna walk into the store every day and find awesome stuff. There's definitely strategy, and I'm gonna go over that with you guys. Funny thing is, a couple years ago, I was so secretive about how I did it, I would never talk about my strategies, but I do it more for a fun thing now. But I'm going to start it out with a story. I'm going to omit names, but I'm going to tell you one crazy story that happened to me hunting in the last, well, I've been hunting toys and bargain hunting vintage toys and stuff for about a decade now. But the Hot Wheels started about Hot Wheels and die-cast started about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Probably 4 years ago, the die-cast started with Greenlight Collectibles. I walked into Toys R Us one day on Centennial looking for toys, just seeing what was out. I think I was starting to collect the Masters of the Universe Origins at the time because I lucked out and got the first wave of those, which were like super crazy hard to get. They're the Masters of the Universe reissues from the 80s. The cards and everything looked the same, so when they came out, they were a big deal. Now you can't give them away. I got rid of all mine, donated a bunch of them to the toy drive this year, stuff like that for kids. Because kids will love to play with them. But as a collection, I just didn't want them anymore, not into them. You outgrow, as a collector, like when you're collecting more than one thing the way I was, you outgrow stuff and you outgrow your space. Like, every time something new, like I had a whole second bedroom. That apartment, guys, was huge. It was a luxury apartment. Wraparound balcony, 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms. That second bedroom was specifically for my toy collection. My daughter does not stay overnights with us because if she doesn't stay in her own bed at home with her mother, she'll stay up all night. She will not sleep. So that's why we've never taken her overnight like that, because she won't sleep. I've stayed up with her all night at her own place till 2 in the morning last Saturday, and I'm probably going to be doing it again this Saturday. But so I had a whole huge second bedroom, but every time I added something new, I would have to shift things around on my wall, and because I had to have all my favorite stuff at eye level. Like there's a lot of work to it. Like my buddy G called it curating, like a museum, and that's where I got the Cowie Diecast Museum from. But he wasn't kidding. Like you, when you have a collection that size, you're actually curating, and I'm glad that I toned it down. I'm glad I got the stuff. Like normal people would think that I've got a ton of stuff still, but I've just got my boxing stuff and my 118s and maybe 7 1 of 64 scale cars. Some of them are customs. Like I've got the OJ Bronco that Dave gifted me, stuff like that. But this hobby, it started when I walked in and found the Fall Guy truck hanging on the pegs at Toys R Us. Sorry, I wandered off. I'm tired. ADHD meds are long wore off. So sorry if I trail off. So getting to the story. So the hobby, I noticed the diecast hobby Hot Wheels is very, very, very competitive. It could heat up. There is competition big time. It could even get violent, which I've got video I'm going to show you guys of people fighting in Walmart. Like I'm going to put some of that in later and show you guys that. It happened in BC. A man and a woman were fighting with a man that opened a box on a skid. Which, by the way, my opinion about that is if I ask an employee and they say, go ahead, open the box, I open up the box, peg everything nice, throw the box out into the bin, that's fine. If you're sneaking around, acting like a goof, ripping everything apart, making a mess. Actually, the guy that I'm going to tell you the crazy story about, he is one of these guys, and part of the reason we had tension was because he was doing everything that was against my grain in the end. Like, he was getting security chasing him out of Walmarts because he was, like, Barton Walmart started hiding the toy skid. Like, the employees said that he was coming in, and no matter where they put the skid, this guy would just ransack it, right? He'd come in at 5 minutes to 11 at night when it closed, because they would try to stock overnight when the store closed because of all the goose ripping apart the skid. Well, they started putting it in electronics right in the back, and this guy went into electronics and acting all shifty, you know what I mean? And he told me from his own mouth security chased him out. Yeah, this is stuff from his own mouth that he told me, and I said, dude, if that's happening, you're doing something wrong if security's chasing you out. I've never had that happen. Although there was the story where I got accused of being a serial shoplifter, and if you go back in my videos, I did a video about that, and it's at the store that I go to every day. Spoiler, the lady has since lost her job. But anyway, get to this story. So crazy story. So this guy, I'm going to call him Grimace. Green Hill Grimace, okay? I met him in the toy aisle of Centennial Walmart, and he was very personable. Like me, it takes a little bit to get to know me. I'm kind of shy with talking to new people sometimes. This guy was very personable. Like I walked around the corner of the toy aisle. He didn't know me from Adam. And he pretended to find something on the peg, a super, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And I was already standing there. And so he acted like he walked around and got it and I missed it. And I didn't even know him, right? I didn't care, but I looked at him, I was puzzled. I said, what'd you find? Like, because I was just curious, right? And you go, oh, I got you, blah, blah, blah. So he had charisma, and the guy definitely has good points to him because I hung around him for about a year or something like that, and we were pretty tight. but he had a very bad side to him. It's almost like he was bipolar, and he was very compulsive with hunting. Like us as collectors, I'm compulsive, Glenn's compulsive, my whole crew's compulsive, okay? But this guy brought it to another level. Like it was like crack to this guy with the hunting. And that's why he was getting himself into trouble at the end with security in stores. It was getting that bad. Like he would be in stores, like I would be checking on my lunch break and stuff like that, and he told me his company was starting to give him crap about the gas consumption. Like he was hitting stores, like he would hit the Rimo Walmart, 10, 12 times in a day, like just that one Walmart in the company truck. And he told me that they were talking about GPSing the truck to keep track, and they were logging his gas and stuff because it was getting so out of hand. Like at least me, when I do it, I'm doing it on my lunch break. I'm punching out, punching back in. I'm going over in my own car, the Mazda. So I'm using my own gas, like I'm not screwing my work to do it, right? But anyway, so I'll get to the story. So this guy, I met him in the aisle at Walmart, and I thought he was a great dude. Like I even told the good Dave H, one of my best friends, I told the good Dave, this guy's really cool. Like we should maybe bring him in, start talking to him. Like he seems like a cool guy. And Dave met him and agreed as well. But we both over time talked and said there's something off with him. Like he takes it to another level. Like, oh, there's nothing in town. I'm gonna drive to friggin' Sherway Gardens in Toronto, like an hour away. And I'm like, what if you drive there and they have nothing? Like if I drive 15 minutes to a store and they have nothing, I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like imagine driving to Toronto. But this guy, like I said, we're talking about a guy that was ripping apart skids. Like he was finding I remember one time he found 5 super treasure hunts in a day. And in a year, when I was going full tilt, I might find 5, right? So if you're finding 5 in a day, something shady's going on, you know what I mean? Like, they're called super treasure hunt, not super treasure run around act like a goof. Like hence the word hunt. You're hunting for them. Now if an employee says open the box and you find a super and you got permission to do it, take the super. Put it this way, out of all the supers I found, one of them has come out of a box. And it was the first one I ever found. And it was on tips from this guy actually trying to tip me into, like he wanted me to go into Dollaramas and friggin' ask about cases in the back and stuff. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that, dude. Like, because that's why the employees look at us and roll their eyes at us. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys, right? Like, there was another guy in the hobby that was calling the Dollaramas all day long. A bunch of us locally know this guy. He was calling them all day long, and he got aired out on Twitter, like somebody that worked at Dollarama, or not Twitter, Instagram or something, posted saying so-and-so don't call Dollarama anymore, like you're hounding us. Like he was calling, and he was finding, this is another guy that was finding, in a week, 5 days, he's finding 3 or 4 supers, sometimes more, and we're all like, how is he doing it? You know what I mean? Oh, it's just luck, blah, 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 And it turned out he was just hounding the store employees, and finally they had enough. But if you're gonna hunt, I always say hunt clean. And this is why me and this guy had a fallout, because he was the opposite of me. He didn't want to hunt clean. He wanted to call the stores and harass. He wanted to harass store managers. Like I told him, I said, I've never ever asked store employees. I think that if they give you a tip, it might even be bad because they're annoyed with collectors. Like I've never ever asked for tips for employees. Went in and asked to speak to the manager to say what day of the month is Hot Wheels coming. Some people use that app called Stock Tracker. It doesn't work for Hamilton, and I know that because I've tried it with other toys, and if I would have listened to Stock Tracker, I would have missed what I was going after. Like it absolutely doesn't work in Hamilton, but I know it works in Toronto, it works in these other places, and there's guys that swear by it, but for some reason it ain't accurate here. At least not the stores I go to. And it's the same tracking system apparently that Walmart uses, but he would go in and bug the store employees. Like he just took it to a crackhead level, right? Like I remember one time running into him. This is another thing. I would run into him in a week a bunch of times, like, and it's because of his volume of going in the store, because it wasn't just me that would run into him. The other crew would run into him like a bunch of times, and we'd add it up and be like, wow, like this guy's out a lot, right? I'm just trying to give you guys all the information so I don't forget anything. So yeah, he just took it to a crackhead level. He was trying to get me to do all this shady shit that I was telling him I'm not doing it. I'm not calling store managers. All the supers I've gotten have come off the pegs, okay? All of them. So me and this guy are hanging around and everything's cool, and we had a crew. Like it's basically my crew now, but with a couple less people. Like a couple have been exiled. Like he's out in bad standing like a long time ago, right? Like I don't even see him in the stores anymore. But he's out in bad standing. There was another guy that wanted to take, but he didn't want to put in anything. When he would find stuff, it's, oh, I want to keep this for myself, you know what I mean? Find 3 supers, wouldn't share them, but he wanted supers. Because my little circle, like if I found 4 supers, I would keep 1, kick 3 in for the guys, and they're going to pay me $2 each. And they do it for me. I know it sounds unbelievable, guys, but this is how we do it, okay? Like the other day, Dave dropping me off the O.J. Simpson Bronco. You know what I mean? Like Glenn mentioned the money that Dave had put into it, because he had to order the hobby exclusive Bronco from Greenlight. He had to order the custom card. Like it's not cheap to have this done, right? And I wanted to buy one, but I said I'm gonna have to wait till after Christmas. You know what I mean? But yeah, the other day he just walked in and handed me one. Like, there you go. I said, oh wow, what do I owe you? Nothing. You know. And this is how we do it. Like I've had Justin drop off like the Car Culture Studebaker chase. Gave me one of those. Like me and Justin have given each other super treasure hunts. Me and Dave have done it. Like I gave Dave about a month ago, the Retro Entertainment Back to the Future truck. There you go, buddy. Like, and he does this stuff for me, and Giuliano does this stuff for me. Glenn does this. Like, we all do it together. We all reciprocate, okay? That's how our group works. It's like an old boys club. We don't charge each other markup, nothing. You wouldn't believe the stuff we give each other and do for each other, right? So anyway, this guy was part of this back then. But then he started getting shady, hiding stuff, scalping stuff. And then I started noticing he was drinking a lot, like, because we didn't know a lot about each other, right? I opened right up to him. I told him I'm an ex-drug addict, blah, 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 blah. I told him all about myself, right? I just thought he was a guy that enjoyed a few beers in the evenings. But then after a while, I noticed he's, calling me up, selling me sets of cars, like brand new 5 sets of like Boulevards. Because he would get tons of stuff, right? Because he lived in the stores. Like basically he would hunt all day in his work vehicle, get off work, tell his wife he was going grocery shopping or whatever, and he would be out till 11 o'clock when the Walmart's closed. Like he was never home. And every time you ran into him, he was one of those guys, I'm sure everybody knows this guy. I know a couple of them. Like if somebody sees me in Walmart, hey Neil, what's up? What do you do? Not much. I'm hunting, having a look, seeing what's here. But then there's the guys, oh, I'm not hunting. I'm just here buying stuff for my kids' lunches. That's what his go-to was every time. And we all used to laugh about it. Like, oh, let me guess. He told you he's getting stuff for his kids' lunches. Yeah, he told me that 3 hours ago when I ran into him. I guess he didn't find the stuff then. But yeah, the guys that have the real problem can never admit it. And I think that's why he always used to say he was buying stuff for his kids' lunches. So anyway, I thought I was very close to this guy, but it turned out that not only was he doing all this shady stuff, he was talking behind my back and he wasn't very smart about it. Like he was saying stuff about me to my close friends. Just petty stuff, like making fun of my car, you know what I mean? Like because I drive a 2008 car because I pay my child support instead of having a car payment, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Just petty stuff, and just saying stuff behind my back about me and about the way I talk, and like stuff that friends don't do to people. Because I was pumping this guy up like he was sliced bread. I thought he was a great guy, right? But then I started seeing the real him come out. So he's selling these 5 sets of Boulevard cars for 6 packs of beer. You know, give me a couple king cans, like all this different die-cast stuff, right? And one day I got a set for my friend Justin that I already had, and it costed Justin some king cans of beer. And Justin said to me, how is he getting this stuff? I said, oh, he's a collector like us. I said, he didn't return it because he lost the receipt, I guess he told me. And Justin's like, well, he keeps losing the receipts, and the problem is he's losing money. Like he's basically paying, you know, $45 taxes in for, or whatever it was for the set of cars, and he's charging us 30, 25, you know, like he was a nice guy at the time. We were getting along with him, but I started scratching my head like, is he stealing this stuff? Like, and I'm not saying he was, I'm just saying like there was a bunch of questions about this guy, right? And more stuff started to come out, but yeah, so I started kind of trying to distance myself from this dude. He had a bad name. Like he had already been booted out of my favorite diecast group. He had trouble in there with a bunch of drama. Other local collectors were having problems with him because they were going in their stores and finding nothing, because this guy was friggin' like he would take a cutting torch and go through the ceiling and go into the stock room if he can get away with it, you know what I mean? Like he would be climbing shelves, like in No Frills and all those places, for example, like the grocery stores, they have die-cast. They'll keep the Hotwheels boxes on the top shelf. This guy's climbing up the shelves to get them down, you know what I mean? Like stuff that I would not be caught dead doing. Like just, I look at it like it's toys, and that's how I was able to just sell off. Like I didn't sell off because I was hurting for money. I sold off because I didn't have the room, right? Like you guys know my situation if you've been watching my videos. I don't have a second bedroom anymore. But like this guy was taking it to another level, coming across as a fucking weirdo. I hate to say that, but he was. So I started distancing myself from him. I noticed he wanted to know everywhere I was when I wasn't working. Okay, like calling me, messaging me all the time. Hey, what shift are you on today? For the 3rd time this week, I'm working 12:30 to 9 p.m. Why? What's up? Oh, just wondering. Oh, you checking Walmart after? Like he was constantly trying to track, and I was telling him, I was being honest with him because I thought this guy was my partner, my bro, right? Like he was like. Dave H. Like I talk about Dave H. Grimace was like Dave H. Like I had him in the same regard back then as Dave H. And I'll tell you how I met G and Dave H as well in this video. So I had him in a very high regard, right? But things were starting to come apart. People were telling me he's saying this about you, and it's reliable sources, right? So I start distancing myself because he's making himself look like a weirdo. I'm closely associated with him. Not to mention he's talking behind my back. Now he's driving me nuts because he wants to know everywhere I'm at, right? Like I started snapping at him in text and everything, right? So I said, this isn't good. It's not healthy for me, not healthy for him. And not to mention he was causing a bunch of drama, telling me his best friend, who I won't name, oh, he's saying this about you, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like he was trying to get his best friend, me, to assault his best friend, you know what I mean? I never understood that. And I figured out it's not his best friend that was causing trouble. He was the common denominator, and since he's been out of the picture, all this drama's gone. So it wasn't this other guy, it was him all along, right? But I was getting mad at this other guy because I believed him, and he was trying to get this other guy in charge just for drama, you know what I mean? So what came to a head is I figured out he was trying to track everywhere I was going. And for the longest time, I was not finding anything. Like like no chases, no nothing, right? Like I was not finding anything. Like I would get to my stores and what would normally be nice stocked up pegs, fresh, would be ripped open boxes, because I would share tips with him too, right? Like, oh, I see there's a toy skid here. The store is about to close, 20 minutes, whatever. I'm going to go home. I'll come back early in the morning. Oh, yeah, bro, just hit it early in the morning. He would hang up with me and then go rip the skid apart and take all the chase and then act like he didn't. And then send me a picture next day bragging about it. Like he was constantly bragging, right? This guy. He was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Like one time, my another buddy who I'm not going to name because it might expose this guy. But this guy's a buddy, and if he watches this, he'll know what I'm talking about. There was the 2-packs when they first came out, the car culture, the Borla 2-pack. This guy wanted them desperately. And my buddy, actually I'll name him Dougie because it's not going to hurt this other guy. My buddy Dougie gets there before him and gets them. And he's like me, he grabs them all because he hooks his friends up for retail cost, right? So they don't have to pay up charges and all that. He doesn't charge them upcharge, he just hooks his friends up, right? So he grabbed them all. So this guy gets there too late and says, oh damn, Doug, can you sell me some? And Doug said, sorry, these are spoken for. Like I got my little clique I help out. Like he was doing the same thing I was doing. So this guy calls me up and I could not believe it. A grown man, he's probably 2-3 years younger than me. He was almost in tears and he's told me what happened. I said, yeah, but it's toy cars. I said, you know what? I said, because I had a set of them coming for retail off of Brian Neil Penner, the guy that gave me the parking spot in the ODA video. If Brian's watching, hey Brian, you probably don't even remember this, but Brian Neil Penner hooked me up with the Borla 2-pack for retail because he's a great guy. So I said to this person, I said, you know what? If it's that important, if it's upsetting you that bad, I have one coming, take mine. I said, just give me the $15, whatever it costs, take mine. I said, you just have to wait till ODA because he lives in, I think it's Waterloo, Cambridge, somewhere that way. I said, we just gotta wait because we're not gonna get it shipped. Like ODA is in a couple weeks. Ontario Diecast Addicts Diecast Show, it was in a few weeks, or the next meet, whatever. Back then it was meets. This was before they had the big diecast shows, right? We had parking lot meets. So I said, if it's that important, I'll give you mine because I know there's going to be more of these. Like that's another cycle, guys. Things come out, they come out hot, and it's the same thing every time. Everybody's got to have them right away, and they're so hard to get. And then in a month, you find it hanging on the peg. It's the same thing with everything. So I told this guy, I said, I'm not worried. I'm going to find it later. Have mine. Neil, it's not about that. You know that. I said, I know that. Well, what's it about? And this is when I knew that me and this guy were not the same. He says, because I want to be the first guy in town to find them. I want to post and say, check this out. I found the Borla 2-pack. And now I can't do it because Dougie can do it. And I said, that's what's important to you? Like I was trying to do too much. Like I was trying to save the world. I was hooking up everybody with retail costs, like, people I didn't even know, right? I had taken on too much. That's why I narrowed it down so much. And plus I don't hunt as much anymore, so I don't have as much stuff, right? But I said, it's not about that to me. Like it's about, like I started out trying to shut down scalpers. Like I was hunting, now I consider myself semi-retired. I just hunt if I'm passing by a store or on my lunch break because I'm close and on my way to and from work. At this point in time, a couple years back, On a Saturday by 7 o'clock in the morning, or no, 6:30, I would have left my house because I would have hit a Walmart at opening in Hamilton, and I would go out to Oakville, Mississauga, and I would work my way back all day, hitting Walmarts, Toys R Us's. I would hit the Waterdown one. Sometimes I would choose Ancaster. I was hunting all day when I wasn't working, going through tons of gas, tons of wear and tear, like, but I was a champ. Like, I was heavyweight champ. Like, there was people, when I first came in the hobby, I thought people were going to take out a hit on me because people thought that I was a scalper. But the word got around, this guy's not a scalper. He actually helps people. Like, because if I walked in and there was something, it could even be wrestling figures, I'd clear the whole fucking shelf off and sell it to my friends for retail cost. And not even friends, strangers, just to help people, right? Didn't matter who you were. You could be black, Mexican, whatever. Your race did not matter. And there's people around my area that'll attest to this. I know there's people watching in the States saying he's got to be full of shit. He doesn't do all that. The Ontario Diecast Addicts group, if you guys join that group, it's my favorite group. You could look up all my posts that I've ever done in there, and you'll see I'm for real. Like, what I'm telling you, I'm for real. I don't rip people off, upcharge them, stuff like that. So this guy was starting to do that as well. So I started distancing myself. Finally, we had an argument because I had a feeling he was hamstringing me, and he was. He was supposed to be my boy, and he was going behind my back. Like I said, oh, I'm gonna hit the Walmart in the morning. There's a toy skid. I'm going home, and then as I'm going home, he's pulling in, type thing, telling me he's at home. Or another time, I told him I seen him at Centennial Walmart. You'll get a kick out of this. I see him at Centennial Walmart. He says, oh, I'm just here for my kids' lunches. I'm gonna head home now. I got an early morning. I said, okay, awesome. I'm gonna go down, check out Barton, which is way out of his way. It was down near where I live, but it was way out of his way. So I drive down to Barton. I take my time. As I'm walking in Barton, who's walking out? The same guy that I just seen, my bro that was supposed to be going home. I said, let me guess. You forgot something for the kids' lunches? Oh, bro, like, I can't remember what he told me, but every second word was bro. And it was, my goodness. But so in the end, I said, look, we don't click. We had a heated argument. I said, we don't click. I sent him a text that said, you leave me alone, I leave you alone. You're talking behind my back. I don't want to hear that. As long as I don't hear anything, I'm dead to you, you're dead to me, we're fine. We got no problems. So fast forward a month. So at this point, I hadn't blocked him on Facebook. I had just unfriended him. Okay, I said, we're dead to each other, whatever. There's no beef, we're dead. I'm watching the Jake Paul fight. I can't remember who he was fighting. It was one of his first fights, actually. It might have been his first or second fight. But I'm not even really watching it. I don't pay for pay-per-views. I got an Android box, guys. But I'm sitting there on the recliner, like we had a recliner love seat that was so comfortable. And I could not stay awake. I'm in and out of consciousness, right? And I used to be reading my phone, dropping it on my face, and my wife would say, go to bed, like you're gonna knock yourself out with the phone. So anyway, the phone's on my chest, and all of a sudden it's doing this weird ring, right? And I'm half asleep, like I'm incoherent, right? And I remember looking at it at one point, and it says the guy's name, and he's video calling me. And like I said, at that point, I knew he was a drunk. Like I knew that he was at least an after work drunk, that he was going home drinking a bunch of beers in his garage, probably lying to his wife about it. I had 2 and he's had 6, you know what I mean? What all addicts do. I used to do it as an addict myself. So I figured out that he was a drunk. I'm trying not to forget anything about this, guys, because it's important that I'm not leaving anything out. So I wasn't nice to him when I told him, leave me alone. So that night, I get a bunch of video calls, right? I'm half asleep. That's where I was at. I'm half asleep. And I look at one point, I see it's from him. And I do, oh, whatever, he's probably drunk, right? Because this guy was spineless when he was sober, but when he was drunk, he had a spine all of a sudden, right? I used to see it in him. He would have a few beer in him, and he would tell me stories about how he would kick ass in the bars in Hamilton, and he would friggin' he would make himself sound like Chuck Norris. He'd walk into a bar and clean it out single-handedly, and his wife almost left him over it. He's a known brawler, right? He used to tell me, but only after he had a couple beer. He was one of those guys. So, so the video call. So he video called me a bunch of times. So at one point I wake up and I'm awake. I had to get up and go pee or something, right? Which happens to me frequently when I'm in a comfortable sleep. So I open up the message box, and he had tried to video call me, must have been a dozen times, okay? So I scroll up, and he started with, he was calling me out, like basically saying, when I see you, you're getting it, blah, 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 wait till I see you, how dare you want to fight me? And the thing was, like, I told him, we have no beef, you're just dead to me. Like, I made it clear, we have no problem, you're dead to me, right? But for some reason, this guy is loaded, and he's got a real issue with me, right? So I said, okay, he's loaded, I'm going to ignore this. The problem was, I start scrolling down, and I guess through the night when I was sleeping, like I was ignoring him because I'm passed out watching the Jake Paul fight with friggin' chip dip all over my fucking self, and my hand in the friggin' bag of chips. So I was legit asleep, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even realize he was doing it. But I guess because I wasn't answering him, but I wouldn't have answered him anyway, because I told him we're not friends, we had a fallout, whatever, right? I guess he got pissed off. I have a disabled daughter, right? She has autism, nonverbal autism. She's 15 years old now. I've been in her life since day one, never been a deadbeat, don't owe a penny in child support. Like, I can have anybody that ever says I owe child support, I actually have printouts that I can get printouts. I have printouts. Like, it's crazy. I don't owe a dime. I'm active in her life. I'm friends with her mother. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been a deadbeat, never hit my daughter. We've never even raised our voice to her because it wouldn't do any good. She's disabled, right? But I love her to pieces. She's my kitten. If you're on my Facebook, saying something about my daughter, you can call me a goof. Like, he went through the whole spiel. He called me, he went to the junkie. That doesn't bother me. Whatever. I get it all the time. You're a junkie, whatever. Because I'm an ex-addict. Like, I haven't used for years, right? Like, I haven't had any relapse. Like, it's probably been 5.5 years since I stopped using and got clean, okay? Never had a single relapse. But junkie is still the easy go-to, and that's why I laugh about it. And that's why I laugh when people ask me about the weight loss. Some of them, I don't tell them it's about the ankle and it was intentional. I just go right to, oh, well, I fell off the wagon, because that's what you want to hear, right? So he started going to all that. That doesn't bother me. Then I scroll down, he's starting to get into my daughter. And I'm not even going to get into the stuff that was said. I'm not going to get into it. And then the final straw was, your daughter probably hates you. And I was like, ooh, ooh. Like, I would never say anything about his kids or anything. Like, I thought, at this point, I thought the guy was a complete goof, but I would never bring his kids into it, you know what I mean? They're kids, like, they got a goof for a father, right? Like, I hope they don't grow up and follow his example, but you can't hold them accountable for him, you know what I mean? But he brought up my daughter, which is not cool. And plus he was threatening me a bunch of times. So I said, you know what? And I watched what I said on Facebook, because I'm not an idiot in Messenger, but I said, it didn't matter anyway, because he made a bunch of threats like an idiot, and I screenshotted them in case he deleted anything. I screenshotted everything. just in case of a future issue, which there was, that I'm going to get at. So I screenshotted everything and I said, you know what, dude, I'm not going to get into this on Facebook. I said, we run into each other a gazillion times a week. You know I'm going to run into you. I said, you're going to wake up tomorrow sober and you're going to realize you did this and you're going to have a turtle head poking out. And yeah, that's what happened. So he woke up the next day, realized what he did. First, he was trying to reach out to me through somebody else. I wanted nothing to do with it, right? So time went by, month, 2 months goes by, but it's still fresh in my mind. And I got my eye everywhere for him because I know he's toned down the hunting because by now I would have run into him 26 times. So I know he's trying to hide and be careful, right? And he's sneaky like that. I'm shaking now just even talking about it. Wow, he makes my blood boil talking about that. But anyway, so about a month and a half goes by and I'm actively looking for him. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not looking for him to assault him. I'm looking for him to say all this stuff to my face. Like, I'm going to make him tell me I'm a deadbeat to my face and talk that shit to my daughter to my face. I was basically going to embarrass him, and my intention, and my wife knew what my intention was, I was going to scare the life out of him. He was even saying stuff about my ex, like my daughter's mother, making up stuff. She doesn't like me, and I threatened to quit my job to get out of paying child support, which is completely ridiculous. I quit my job, I'd be on the street. You know what I mean? But somehow he made that up, that I was telling him I'm going to quit my job so I don't have to pay child support, that's completely ridiculous. To get out of paying $400 a month child support, quit my job. But yeah, that was one of them. So a month and a half goes by, and I remember it's a rainy night, and me and him had an issue before where he got drunk and rapped off before, but it wasn't to this extent. And I had told him the last time he did it, I'm going to run into you. And it was a night in October, just like this, where it was rainy and that. And I ran into him in a toy aisle at the Toys R Us. And he turned white as a ghost when he see me. And I said, dude, never do that again. Like, this is your one pass. You called me out. Like, he didn't say nasty stuff about my daughter and stuff. But that time he was testing me. He was drunk. He was trying to assert his manhood, and he was trying to do it on me. He was loaded, right? I don't drink. Part of the reason you don't see retro drunk slurring on here is because I recognize I have the potential to be a goof if I'm drunk. I'm a large part Irish, you know what I mean? I have a potential, like there's probably a 1 in 10 chance at 45 years old, if I get drunk, I can act like a goof. You know what I mean? But this was happening with this guy, most of the time. And this is why I avoid drinking. Plus, if I get drunk, I'll feel like crap for the next 3 days. I don't drink. Like, even New Year's, like when I was younger, I probably aged myself 10 years, all the party. Like, I partied like a rock star. And I don't do it anymore. I don't drink anymore. Like, if New Year's, I might have a beer or two. I just don't have a taste of it anymore. Plus, it ran through my family. There's been real issues with alcoholism, and not just my father's side, my mother's side as well. So I watch it and plus, I've had issues when I was younger with alcohol, like late teens, early 20s. I was a drunk, an aggressive drunk, a bad drunk. So I recognize the signs of it as well, telling you guys all this. I'm not born. It wasn't my first time at the rodeo with booze, so I know what it does to how it makes people act, so I'm seeing all this, right? So the last time it happened, it was on a night just like this, so I'm driving by the Rimo Walmart, and it's a rainy night in October, just like the last time I confronted him, and he apologized, said it would never happen again. I wasn't going to go in. And I said, you know what, it's about dinner time. I said, I remember this is the good time to go to this Walmart. But I laughed. I said, this is the one that guy is most addicted to. He probably checks this place probably at least a dozen times a day on the clock at work, okay? I said, what are the chances I'll run into him on a night just like a, lightning, thunder, like a spooky night, right? So I walk in there and I'm not even looking for him. I'm half joking about it in my mind, right? Like, what are the chances? And I see him. And right away I say, there he is. He sees me and he starts trying to hightail it the other way. Like acting like he didn't see me, but at the same time trying to, you know what I mean? Now I had no intention of beating him up, fighting him, assaulting him, anything. I was gonna scare the living crap out of him though. Like I probably would have grabbed him by the collar, and that's considered assault. But I wasn't gonna open hand slap him. I wasn't gonna do anything like that. I was gonna scare the crap out of him. There was two major problems though. He had his two little boys with him. I'm not a goof, okay? I'm not a goof, so that's one of the black and white rules is I'm not gonna do that. So I could taste it. He's right in front of me, but he's got his two kids with him, right? So all of a sudden he gets to the end of the aisle, and I wasn't gonna say anything to him. He gets about 20 feet away, and I couldn't believe this. He turns around and he says, "Oh, F yourself." And he's got his kids, I'm guessing the boys were 4 and 5. Like he had two little boys that are probably 4 and 5. And he tells me to go F. And there was a woman with a little girl that was standing in the aisle at the time. And there was other people milling around. Like this is a toy section, right? So he says that. And I'm having a real hard time counting to 10 because I want to have a serious chat with this guy. He's got his kids with him, and now he's mouthing me off because he knows me well enough to know that I'm not going to jump on him with his kids there. Like if he's alone, he wouldn't say a word. He would run, right? So, and this is over a hobby. This is why I'm getting into all this. This is how crazy people can be and compulsive people can be. Like there got to be drugs for this guy. So. And he thought I was his competition. That's why it got so out of whack. He thought I was competing with him, and I thought I was working with him, and he was my bro. And yeah, I got kind of played, guys, but it'll never happen again. But so anyway, I said to him, I said, "Wow, what a mouth on you in front of your kids and with this woman here." If I would have thought, guys, it was before I was doing YouTube videos, it'd have made a hell of a video. But I did get some video footage, but I'm not going to show you guys that. But I did show, what I did is I got video footage that I showed I'm not going to name these people either, but it's 3 reputable people in the hobby that if it came down to my word against this other guy's, that if a video existed, that these people would say, yes, I've seen the video, it does exist, and he's telling the truth. And it was people that wouldn't be doubted. You know what I mean? One of them was, I can name this guy. One of them was Dave H., a guy in my crew. I showed him because he's very trustworthy. Everybody knows him. He's been around a lot longer than me. So if he says, yeah, I seen a video, people are going to believe it. So I'll get to the video later. I'm getting heated thinking about this. So he goes off again. He calls me Gimpy. Because at the time, I've got a broken ankle that's broken. And this is what makes it funny too. I've got an ankle that's broken in 2 spots and a collapsed foot arch. We're going to get more at that later. But I've got a broken ankle. I'm waiting for surgery. The surgery is what made me start doing YouTube videos. Is because I was off work. So this is about 6 months before I started doing the videos even. So I could barely walk, right? Let alone fight somebody. I could barely walk. And you could see it in me. Like there was a couple times it got so bad that I would be on a Walmart scooter. There's shorts of me and reels on Facebook of me driving a Walmart scooter. That's how bad it would get. The fucking thing was broken in 2 spots and I was still working on it for 2 years, right? And it wasn't because of my stupidity. It was because of misdiagnosis, because of COVID. That's a whole nother story. Telling me I had a sprained ankle, all this other stuff. So anyway, I'm hurting at the time, and that pain made me a different person. I was in pain all the time, and I was cranky and short-tempered at the time. So I admit I've got a short fuse now. I get it from my father. I had a real short fuse when I was in pain all the time, right? So I started walking out because he's got his kids with him. He's making a scene. There's other kids there. I said, at least if I leave, he's going to shut up, right? So I leave, and as I leave, I hear the B word, bitch. Like, basically, I'm scared of him and I'm leaving. I'm like, oh man, wait till I see you without your kids, right? So I walk out, and the friend that he was always trying to get in trouble, his quote unquote best friend that he was constantly talking bad about, oh, my wife thinks he's a weirdo and gets a weird feeling about him. This is supposed to be his best buddy, right? That he says this stuff about. And he's telling me stuff about his best buddy to try to get me to punch out his best. And I even said that to him. I don't understand. It's like you wanted me to punch out your best friend. Like in our heated argument we had, I said that to him at one point. Like, why would you do that to your best friend? So anyway, I went out and I took a picture of his car and I sent it to his best friend, and it was me smiling beside his car. And I said, I saw your buddy tonight. I finally ran into him. I said I gave him a pass because he had his kids with him, or whatever it was I said. But I remember sending a picture of me beside the car, right, with the plate, so his friend knew it was his. And then to get him going, I said, oh, the mirror just accidentally fell on the ground here. Like I was trying to get his best friend thinking I was ripping the car apart. But of course that wasn't happening, right? So I'm about to go jump in my car and leave, and all of a sudden I hear, hey B, the bitch word again. And I turn around, and because I'm parked in front of his car, right? Because I just took a picture with it. He's got his 2 kids with him, right? And I'm starting to wonder why he's like, because normally he doesn't have a spine like this. You know what I mean? Like last time I caught him in the Toys R Us on Centennial, he was sober and he was almost crying. And I wasn't threatening him or anything. I just said, we gotta have a talk. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. I get animated, I get loud, but I didn't grab him, shake him up, anything. But I could tell then he wasn't real. He wasn't who he said he was, right? He wasn't this bar brawling guy. So, anyways, so he starts walking up. So I walk up to him. I said, first thing I said, I started rolling film at this point. Because if this guy says I assaulted him, did something, I want it on film. I was smart enough to do this, right? And this is the film I showed Dave H. and 2 other people I will not name. Because I don't need to now because I've since been vindicated. So he walks up to me. I said, go drop your sons off. I said, if you're trying to be aggressive with me, go drop your kids off. Have your wife pick them up. I said, I'm not going to fight with you with your kids here. Clearly, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that I can't pound this guy into oblivion, even with my broken ankle. But I'm nervous, you know, he's got kids there. Like, that's a goof move. Like, imagine seeing your father beat up as a young kid, right? I'm never going to do that. And plus, I didn't want it to go to a fight anyway. And he refuses to do that. And he gets in my face at one point. And this is where it gets good. He's got his 2 little boys with him. He's in his work clothes. I smell beer. Okay, and like I told you, he was acting different. He had a different facial expression too. Just something was different about him, right? Like, you know how people, when they get a little buzz, like they're not quite hammered, but they got a little buzz where you could just, they're a little bit different, you know what I mean? Like, I had a buddy that was a drunk, my former best friend, that if he had 1 beer, I could tell on the phone, and this guy was a drunk. Just his voice would change, right? So I smell booze on him. At that point, I get pissed. I say, you goof. And I'm right to his face. I said, you're drinking with your kids in the car. Now, at the time, I had a G2 license, so I was allowed 0 alcohol. I can't even have half a beer. Okay, now I'm allowed 0.05, whatever it is. At the time this happened, I was allowed 0 alcohol. Okay, so I confront him about the beer, the booze on his breath with his kids and driving. And he says, fuck you, you liar. He goes, I just got finished work. I said, you just got finished? What'd you do? Take your kids to work with you? He knows I've got him dead to rights. And I'm thinking in my head, he's really this stupid. Like this, he thinks he's smarter than he is, right? If he was smart, all he would have had to do, because he's allowed to have 0.5 beer. I wasn't at the time, but he is. Yeah, I've had a beer. I'm allowed. You know what I mean? That's all he would have had to say, and it would have been the end of it. But denying that he drank, period, that shows the piece of shit he is. Like, I'm thinking, I grew up around booze. Like, I grew up in a house where there was a little bit of booze, you know what I mean? For their period with my father, God bless him, as he got older, he was an awesome dad. He was always an awesome dad to me. But when he was in his younger years, in his 30s, 40s, he tipped the elbow a bit. He never beat me up, he always food on the table, great guy, funny, but he liked to drink a bit, right? So I knew the smell of it. I know how people act, like I was around it all the time, right? Like, picture me talking to you and I'm acting different than how you normally act, and you smell booze on me, and I'm looking at you telling you that you don't smell booze. Like, you're gonna think I'm fucking nuts. Sorry about the language, you know what I mean? You're gonna think I'm nuts, right? Like, you know what you smell. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, okay, that tells me, I said, you know what? I should call the cops. And he goes to go by me. At this point, I had him put his kids in the back seat of the car. And I had my back, like, near the back window where they can't see anything, because we were getting pretty heated arguing. He tries to give me a shoulder shove, like he's really testing me, because he's had a few drinks in him, and he wants to see how far he's going to go, right? He knows I'm not going to hit him with his kids there. He wants to try to look tough. I grab him and put him on the hood of his car, like bent halfway back, and I said, knock it off, you know what I mean? At this point, a woman walks out, like, I'm feeling terrible. The guy's got his kids in the car, but he's acting aggressive. He's already threatened me, this and that, right? And this is all over hobby stuff. So a woman and her kid walks out. I looked at him, I said, you know what? I'm leaving. There's a woman and her kid there. Shut your effing mouth. I'm leaving. And the woman and her kid's getting closer. They're looking. Her daughter must be 11 or 12. It's after dark. Like, it's probably not a comfortable situation for a woman and her kid. Every time I would get to my car and put my hand on the door handle, he's going like this again. Let's go, you coward, you bee, blah, 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 let's go. I'd let go of the door handle and I'd start walking toward him. And the woman, God bless her, I said, sorry, ma'am, I'm going to leave. This idiot's not going to shut his mouth. She looked at him and said, let him go. He's leaving, and you can't, she couldn't believe it, how stupid he was. She goes, every time he's halfway in his car, you rise him up. Shut up. Like, she literally told him, shut up. She goes, he's trying to leave, you know what I mean? Let him go. And then as I'm driving away in my car, I see him with the cell phone, and he's going like this, like he's trying to say some story that happened, right? I'm like, oh boy, I've got the footage already. Like, he had footage of me driving away in my Mazda. I had footage of him in my face, like, with different facial expressions, because he's half drunk, saying all kinds of, you know what I mean? So first thing I did, when I was pulling away, I'm not going to lie. I told him when I was pulling away, I said, we're going to talk about this again. This isn't over. I said, I might be 90 years old. We're going to talk about this when this woman is not around. Your kids aren't around. And like I said, it wasn't to assault him at that point. Still, as mad as I was at that time, I still was going to just scare him, right? So anyway, sorry for the cut, guys. That was the washer and dryer going. But anyway, so I'm trying to leave, and this guy, every time he leaves, he's bitch, goof, you know what I mean? Coward. His little boys are in the back seat of the car. I showed tremendous, like my wife said, you could tell you're getting mellow with your age, like, cause he was, Like I told her, I showed her video footage and she said, wow, like he's lucky his kids were there because I don't know if I could have controlled myself. So anyway, I go home and I message Dave right away, Dave H, one of my closest confidants, because he knew about the whole backstory of this. He was keeping me calm the whole time. If it wasn't for Dave H, I probably would have gotten in trouble, and for Giuliano as well. And this is why I consider them such high regard. If they weren't in my life at the time, I might have gotten in trouble over this. They were telling me from the word go, he's trying to bait you, don't do it, blah, 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 blah. So thank you if you guys are watching. I know you guys are watching. Thank you for that. So I showed Dave the footage and I didn't tell him anything about the booze. I said, I'm going to see, because the guy in the video that I had the beef with had like a slack-jawed look. Like he looked different than he normally looks because he was buzzed, right? I said, I'm not going to say anything to Dave. I'm going to see if he picks it out. So Dave's watching the video and he's like, wow. He goes, did he have his kids with him? I said, yeah, his kids were with him. He goes, he's drunk, isn't he? Like, he picked it out himself. He goes, he's drunk, isn't he? I said, I was waiting to see if you were going to say that. I said, I smelled fucking booze on him, and he denied it. And I ended up, he called the police on me that night, tried to say that I was assaulting him, this and that. I'll explain that to you in a minute. But I also called the police to file about him driving drunk with his cops in the car. Problem was, the police told me, with the cops with his kids in the car. The problem was, I was told by the police, he gave me his card and all that other stuff, that basically there's a chain of command with that. So basically the cop, like, he would have had to catch him there drunk, like on the spot, breathalyze him there. Like, basically, the cop told me if he would have went to his house, well, then again, this guy is a complete idiot. Like, he thinks he's smarter than everybody. He's just one of the stupidest. Like, all he would have had to say is he had a beer to avoid all this, because he's allowed to have a beer, right, on the G license. But anyway, the cop said all he has to do if he's smart is go home, crack a beer, and say, yeah, I've been drinking, but I've been home. I wasn't drinking earlier. I started drinking when I got home. And there's no way to prove impaired driving, unfortunately. So that's why that didn't go anywhere. Because, yeah, I did talk to the police about that. But by the time he got home and by the time they had got there, there was nothing that could have been done. Because had he been smart, he would have said I was drinking at home. But I regret it because I don't think he's that smart, to be honest with you. I think he might have just panicked and, oh, yeah, I made a mistake, but whatever. So anyway, they don't do anything about that. But I'm expecting a visit or something about this, right? Because this guy has gone off the deep end. At this time, he has sobered up the next day and he has went, holy shit. He's got a turtle head this long sticking out of his bum. He's messaging admins of diecast groups I'm in, telling them this guy is a dangerous person, blah, blah, blah. Like one of the admins messaged me, he said he's not even a group member in this group. Why the heck's he messaging me for? Like, they go, if you made a threat to a group member in the group, or even not in the group, if you threaten a group member, I would intervene. But this guy's got nothing to do with us. Like, what? Like, he messaged G, telling G, oh, so you know Neil's dangerous, don't hang around him. And G messaged me, he didn't know what the hell this guy was talking about, because he said, something's up, that does not sound like my friend, right? But I give credit, because I was so angry at this point, that this is the only time I heard G raise his voice a little bit with me, the whole time I've known him. He said, knock it off. This guy's going to get you in trouble. You got to knock it off. Like, I was getting so angry about it, okay? But luckily Dave, other friends, talked sense into me. Because this guy said some nasty stuff about my daughter. So, fast forwarding into it, so the police can't do anything about drunk driving. About a week later, I don't answer private calls on my phone, period. If it's private call, I don't answer. I let it go to voicemail, and I check the voicemail. If it's important, they'll leave a message, right? Too many telemarketers. I get a call at an unusual time at about 9 o'clock at night one night, private call, or 9:45 at night, and it was by CRTC regulations, because I used to be in sales. You're only allowed to call people for business purposes till 9:30 at night. Believe it or not, it's till 9:30 in Ontario. So I said, it can't be a business call. What was that? But whoever it was did not leave a message. I checked the voicemail. It was clunk like the sound whenever they make hanging the phone up. I pressed 5. It didn't give the number. So I said, whatever. It was probably some overseas call. So then I tell Diane about it. I say, I wonder if that was the police. And she says, no. She goes, if it was them, they would leave a message, right? Because she's aware of all this too. But she's not angry at me. She knows the whole situation about this. But she has warned me, I know you love your daughter, but you're no good to her in jail. Because I was that mad, right? So a couple days later, I get a call, same time. This time, it's private, but there's a voicemail. This is Detective such and such with Hamilton Police. It wasn't a detective. It was a like a constable, a patrol officer. Back in the old days, it was the only people that would contact me was detectives. Back when I used to get in trouble, it wasn't usually patrol officers, but that was way back in the 90s. But this was a constable. That made me feel good, actually, because it made me say, I'm unknown here. That's good. It's a normal cop calling me. But he asked me to call him back, and I said, oh shit, Diane, they did just call me, so I guess this person did try to report me. God knows what he said, because this guy was lying to everybody, right? He was telling people I physically chased him and his 2 sons from one end to Walmart to the other inside the store. I had a broken ankle. That's where the broken ankle, when I mentioned earlier, it's going to come up later. I had a collapsed foot arch and a broken ankle joint in 2 spots. Although at that time it was not diagnosed. We didn't know what was wrong with it. He didn't know what was wrong with it. He just knew I had a buggered up ankle and I was waiting to see a specialist. But he didn't realize the extent of it, I guess, because he told everybody in town, tried to tell everybody in town, that I went crazy, I was ferocious, and chased him and his sons for 20 minutes inside around a Walmart. Wouldn't let them leave, held them hostage, blocked them in, all this other stuff. Hold on a sec, guys, I gotta go pee. Sorry, guys, I had to go pee, and then I had to go get some jug up, because I'm hungry. Yeah, but anyway, with this guy, so fast forward, the police they called my phone a couple times, left a message. So I'm telling Diane, just after I heard the message, the police called. I said, that probably was them. So I had my phone and I'm dialing them back, and all of a sudden there's a loud knock at our apartment door, and it's a security building because you got to buzz to get in. I looked at her, I said, that's the cops. And she goes, nope. I said, oh yeah, it is. I know the knock. Sorry guys, I won't do that again. I said, I know the knock. And it was. I went to the door. Who is it? Hamilton Police. So I open up the door, and it was a short police officer. Like, I must have had about 6 inches on this guy, but he had arms that looked like, like it looked like he either lives in the gym or lives in a lab, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, he was a monster, but he was friendly. And he says, hi, are you Neil? I said, yep, I'm Neil. And I knew what it was about. He goes, do you know why I'm here? I said, yep. He goes, what happened at Walmart? And I started explaining to him what happened. And he said, what does this stem from? And luckily I had the the guy is so stupid he didn't delete any of what he said in Messenger, and I still have it. Like, I got screenshots to this day of all this. So I said, he goes, what's it stemming from? I said, I could show you. He goes, well, he says it's stemming from Hot Wheels. I said, Hot Wheels? I said, well, how would it stem from Hot Wheels? He said, well, he said it's like a Hot Wheels turf thing. I said, a Hot Wheels? I said, how does that sound to you? You know what I mean? I said, no, that's not what it's about. He goes, well, this guy made it sound like you're upset with him because he's finding more Hot Wheels than you and you're jealous. I said, how does that sound to you? Like, you know what I mean? I said, at the time, I was 43 years old, I think it happened, whatever, 44. I said, that's not what it's about. I said, I met him collecting not only Hot Wheels, but die-cast in general, but it has nothing to do with that. I said he made the unwise decision that one night he was going to try to call me out and rile me up and get me to fight him in Facebook Messenger. And after an hour of ignoring him and ignoring his video calls and all that other stuff, he started talking about my disabled daughter. And as soon as I said that, it was almost like the police. He was friendly as it was, but as soon as I said that, he got even friendlier. I think he was a father. He said, really? I said, yeah, he didn't mention anything to Facebook. He said, he didn't even mention Facebook. He said he mentioned Walmart's and you, like, basically a turf thing. I said, wow, he's delusional. And yeah, the guy is on his own planet. But so I showed the police officer the interaction in my Messenger. I didn't even like doing that, you know what I mean? But he sent the cop to my house. It wasn't vice versa. So I showed him the thing, and the police officer just said, well, he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna leave here. He goes, do me a favor. Obviously, if you see him, don't say anything, like, leave him alone. But he said, he goes, I'm going to admit, I came over to talk to you. He said, but now I'm leaving and I'm going to talk to him. I said, okay, well, thank you. I said, because I said, you can run my name. I don't have, like, you'll see nothing. Like, nothing in Hamilton, nothing in the past. Like, the last time I had a negative police interaction was April of 1999. So it's been a minute. So yeah. Clearly, if there was a problem in that sense, I'd have a big file here and the cop would know all about me, right? It's probably another reason he was friendly, because he didn't look at me like I'm a criminal, because I'm not a criminal. And I thank God every day for that I changed my life that long ago. I'm not a religious person, but yeah, somebody to thank. But yeah, so anyway, the police officer left. And as far as I was concerned, I told the cop, I said, gave my word to the cop. I said, you have my word, it's done. But I told my friends, I said, it's funny because I can go anywhere. I don't have to look. He started it with me, and he's the one that has to look over his shoulder. I'll give you an example. So the cop leaves, a few months go by. I get my surgery on my ankle after they figure out what's wrong with it. They tell me the ankle joint's busted in 2 spots. I got to get it fused back together. Got to get screws put in. And like I said, I worked on this thing for 2 years, bouncing up and down on a forklift that didn't have any suspension on concrete floors. And yeah, it didn't feel good. Made my foot arch collapse on top of it. So I'm trying to remember what point I was getting at with the injury. Oh, so I get my surgery. So I'm off work for about 3 months. Now, after this happened, this guy had disappeared. After I saw the police, the couple months after that, I did not see this guy, period. We're blocked out of Facebook. He's not sending me messages through his best friend anymore, nothing. It's like he's dead to me. I haven't seen him. But then when I went off work, laid up after surgery because I couldn't walk anywhere, couldn't drive my manual car because it was my right foot, right? I was gonna try to use my crutch rather, or something for my clutch pedal, but my wife was like, "You're not doing that." And she let me use her Kia at the end of it, her automatic Kia, when I was well enough to actually drive. But one of my first outings out, I had Glenn here with me when he was moving to Hamilton. So I actually have somebody with me that can corroborate part of the story. And he didn't know the story at this time, but I said to Glenn, he was visiting at the time, thinking about moving to the area. So I was showing him around, right? And I said, "Oh, you're here. I'll show you this. We're going to do a toy hunt, obviously, right? Since you're here." So I took him to Toys R Us. And I pull into Toys R Us. We parked there. And he says to me, "Do you know that guy, Neil? For some reason, he was really staring at your car when we pulled in here." And he's a lot more observant about stuff than I am sometimes. And I said, "I didn't even notice. Like, I did not notice anybody at all, right?" And he said, "Well, there he is there." And I look over, and we're parked in the front row at Centennial Toys R Us. The first place that I confronted this guy, the first place he ran afoul, and it's broad daylight. And he's walking into the front door, and he knows my car like he's a treehouse mechanic that worked on my car before. That's a whole different story. The thing still makes noise at the part that he worked on. But yeah, so he knows my car inside and out, and knows the look of it, everything. So he walks in the front door, and he's got his head just buried in his chest to the side. Like, it's clearly he's got exaggerated movements. He's hiding. He doesn't want me to see him. First thing I said to Glenn is, I said, "Do me a favor. If he calls the police about something, you make sure you tell them I didn't assault him, didn't threaten him." And Glenn's kind of like wondering if he should be worried or not. He said, "Well, what do you mean?" And then that's when I told him the story, what happened. We sat out in the car, and I told him briefly, this guy did all this. He tried to get the police on me, you know what I mean, all this other stuff. So I said, "Just make sure I'm not going to say a word to this guy. Just make sure that when we walk in, you're my witness in case he calls," because he's a pathological, this guy. Like, he believes his own bullshit, right? So we walk in, and we walk straight to the die-cast aisle. He was about a minute ahead of us. And we get to the die-cast aisle, and we're doing our thing, looking at the Hot Wheels. And just out of curiosity, I look at Glenn, I said, "Where is he?" Like, because it's weird. He doesn't collect any other toys. The only place he would be is in this aisle. And this is where, like I said, coincidentally, I walked around the corner one rainy night, and it looked like he's seen a ghost because he was calling me out drunk another time, right? So he's not in the toys, but he hasn't left yet because there's only one exit. Like, at that store, there's one way in, one way out, and they're on opposite sides of the store. So Glenn's looking around, I'm looking around, and we're not looking around to cause a trouble. I just want to know where this guy's at, because at the same time, he's an enemy, right? You always know where your enemies are at. Where even if they're somebody you're not worried about, he can come up behind me and crack me with a bat or something, right? So, finally we spot him, and he's acting like he's looking at children's clothes, like infant clothes, toddlers and stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, I know his style. He's over there trying to hide from me. I think it's hilarious because I'm not gonna do anything to the guy, but this is, you know what I mean, whatever. So I say, "Glenn, just pretend we don't see him, that way he can leave." So we start doing that. We turn our heads, we're looking at everything. We allow him to go by because there's only one way to get out. So he goes by, we pretend we don't see him, and then a minute later, I say, "Okay, well, there's nothing here, let's go." Because when I check these stores, it takes me like 2 minutes because I know exactly where to check, what to look for. You get it down to a rhythm. So I said, "Okay, let's go. We'll go hit Walmart next door." So we start walking towards the front. All of a sudden, he comes from the side. Like, it's almost like he had tried to leave out the front door, but it wouldn't open because of the sensor. Like, he was trying to get out at different doors so we didn't see him, because he knows my style. I'll only be in there for a minute or two and then next door, right? No waste of time. So he sees us at this point. At this point, I can't pretend I didn't see him because we have made eye contact. We're in the Toys R Us Centennial. Glenn says, "Oh, there he is." I said, "I know." And so I'm still trying to not look threatening, menacing, anything, because I think I just don't want him calling the cops. You know what I mean? So he gets to, what he does is he makes a beeline for customer service, which is manned by about 2 or 3 young girls at this time of the day, like probably in their late teens, early 20s, right? And he starts leaning over the counter. And as he's leaning over the counter, he's looking back at us. And the problem is, the customer service desk is right beside the exit that me and Glenn have to go out of. So we're walking what looks like towards him, but we're actually walking towards the exit, which is right beside him. So as we're getting closer, he's just like head on a swivel, right? Sweat coming off him. He was white. Like, he thought, I think in his mind, he honestly thought I was going to jump on him in the store in front of kids and everything. Because he sent the police to my house too, right? So he probably thought he escalated it. So by the time I get to the cashier, I thought he was going to climb over and start hiding behind one of the girls. And so we walked by him, and he's just like shaking like a leaf, right? And we get outside. I said, "Oh my God, Glenn, did you see that?" And Glenn was like, "Oh my God." We were laughing. Like, it looked like we thought he was going to climb behind the counter. And I said to Glenn, I said, "That's a lesson in life. I don't even got to do anything to the guy. Like, I'm living in this guy's head rent free, right?" So what he did is he has friends that are mutual friends of mine. He was keeping tabs. He thought that I was still laid up and was going to be laid up for a long time. But he didn't know me well enough to know that I shaved off 50 pounds to cut the 12 months of recovery down to 6, what the specialist predicted. Specialist that works on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, by the way. Awesome. He was right. Taking off the weight definitely helped. But yeah, he wasn't expecting to see me out and about. Not nearly as soon. And I guarantee you his wife had a special package to wash in that underwear that night. And since then, I've never seen him again. So what it was is he was out in my, well, we call it each other's turf. He was out in my hot spot, or what he would call it, a Neil hot spot, probably to his friends. Thinking that I was still laid up with my injury, right? Because people talk and he knew that I was laid up. But then, oh shit, he's not laid up. And yeah, I have not seen the guy since. So it's funny. If he is watching the video, because when a mutual friend, because there are people that know about this, see what he did is I only told mutual people that he told. Like, I didn't go spread it like he did. I made him make himself look like a complete weirdo on top of it. Like, all the people that he messaged were messaging me, like, why is he messaging me? Like, you didn't even message me and I'm your friend, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't even tell me this. Like, he made himself just look like a complete lunatic in this whole thing. And I allowed him to do it. Like, instead of me reaching out to everybody telling them, I had the video as proof that I showed to 3 people that are reputable. That way, when I delete the video, I got witnesses that it existed. The guy looked inebriated, the way he was behaving, what I said to him on the video, proof of everything. Sorry that was long-winded, guys, but I told you it was kind of a crazy story, and it was. I mean, the guy got the police on me for nothing, told a bunch of people that I chased him and his sons around. He didn't know at the time my ankle was snapped in 2 places, but yeah, I totally menaced him with a collapsed foot arch and a, broken limb. Whatever. Yeah, so if he does watch what I was getting at, It's still fresh in my mind. I'm not going to do anything to you if I see you in public or anything, but it's still fresh in my mind. If you're up for it, and if you have enough beer and are up to a little bit of bare knuckle, and you'll sign a waiver saying that you won't lay charges or anything, and I'll do the same. I'll sign a waiver saying I won't lay charges on you. Let me film it, put it on YouTube, stuff like that. That would be killer. And plus, you'd be able to prove your point to everybody about how you were menacing me. Right? You got nothing to lose if you're watching. But anyway, guys, that's enough of that. Normally I keep this channel positive, but I want to tell you I have a lot of crazy diecast stories similar to that. Not concerning me, but concerning others. Just crazy stories that you would never think would happen. Maybe if you guys enjoyed the story I just told and are interested in more, maybe one day a week I could do that. Stories with Retro and Glenn, and I tell you guys a story, an interesting one. Not just about hobbies. I've got stories about my life that would blow you guys away. Just stuff that happened to me, and lucky to be alive. So, and with the Dave H, I keep confusing him with David Paperno in BC because I have two crew members, Dave H, David Paperno. It was Dave H and G that really helped me with that situation. And like I said, G, he raised his voice at me. Like I don't remember. I was so upset. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he's told me knock it off. And I've got such respect for him. You know what I said to him? I said, okay. I gave him my word. I said, I give you my word. It's done. I said, if I see him, it's done. Like, the only time G has ever raised his voice and been mad at me. And I had such respect. Like, if it was somebody else I didn't know or somebody, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But no, it just, sorry. Like, I had nothing to say to him. He was completely right. And Dave helped me as well on that. Because it was a guy that hit me below the belt. But anyway, like I said, that was a crazy story. Now I'm going to show you some good stuff, some weird stuff. I just put together a little bit of a clip and I put a voiceover. We're going to talk about some stuff. And then at the end, I'm going to show you a piece of mail that somebody sent us in so we could thank them and show you what we got. Like I said, it's a little bit different to break up the unboxing videos, and yeah, just to give you guys, I'm also going to talk strategies by the end of this video throughout that voiceover. So here we go, guys. Let's go through a little bit of a walkthrough time here. That was one crazy story, wasn't it, guys? Glad it's behind me, but now on to some of the good stuff. You hear me joke about the 905 crew, and it's kind of me joking around, but it's a real group of friends. We got core values that are very old school when it comes to collecting and hunting. You know, black and white, don't screw people, you know, try to help out your buddies, stuff like that. I've never had an argument with Dave H or with G. And a lot of it's because they're very similar to me. They're different to me in a lot of ways, but they're very, very similar to me in a lot of ways. They're very easygoing guys, but they're the type of guys, they're easygoing, they'll give you the shirt off their back, but don't mistake that for weakness. Because if you do that and you try to run them over, you're going to find out that they're nice guys, but they're not weak guys. Yeah, very lucky to have those guys around me. Like I said, they helped me out immensely in that situation. That could have went a lot worse with that dickhead. But yeah, the purpose of this channel, guys, before I get into tips and strategies, is just basically showing you guys what I think is cool through my eyes. Whether it's a cool car I see out driving around on the road, part of my collection, like the old Matchbox Star Card collection here. I try not to show you guys, even when I go to toy shows, I try to show you different stuff. Stuff that you haven't seen before. Older stuff that's old but new to you. Like these here that I didn't even know about till a year ago. I try to make you guys laugh, like with Hank running over people here. I just try to show you guys cool stuff, make you laugh, help you guys learn about chases like this here. This was my first chase back hunting after being laid up with my ankle. That is now in my friend Dave H's collection. Dave paid retail for that because that's how we do each other, and that's how we wish everybody would do each other. Treat him good, he treats me good. I mean, we all treat each other good. That was beautiful. I was stoked when I got that because it had been such a long time. This is a perfect example. This goes towards one of the tips and strategies, guys. You're not always going to find good stuff or chases every day. I tell people that are new to hunting when they're getting discouraged, I say out of 10 times, be prepared to fail 9. Like if you can't fail at things, hunting's not for you. I get comments all the time, oh, you're lucky, look at the stuff that you find. Part of it's luck, guys, because I got the luck of the Irish, come on, but I don't post when I don't find anything, and that's a lot. More times than not, I don't find anything. Especially now that I'm semi-retired, I don't find nearly as much. The A-Team 1 of 18 scale, vintage, 1983, don't see those often. Especially in that shape with all the rotor blades intact. But with hunting, guys, I'll give you an example. Justin, when he started out, he was a hardcore collector, but wasn't a hunter. And as you know, that could be expensive because he had to rely a lot on the secondary market. Don't get me wrong, he would check Walmart and stuff, but he didn't have it tuned in like the hardcores do. So over time, I told him about trying to go at stock time. You got to be there when the stuff hits the pegs. It's all about the timing. And I knew that once he found his first super chase, he was going to be taken off from there. And it took a couple months. He got to a slow start, but now he's a killer. If I was at my best still hunting all the time, and I went against Justin, I wouldn't stand a chance. He'd smoke me. And that's with me at my best. That's not with me saying, oh, well, he'd beat me because I'm semi-retired. That's me at my best. He would smoke me. This is an instance of bad behavior at Walmart, guys. Police having to come over somebody opening a box on a toy skid. If you look back in my videos, you could see the full video of it. But adults can be babies about toys, as you heard earlier by my crazy story at the beginning. But the thing is, guys, do not give up. Don't go hunt twice and say, oh, I didn't find anything, I give up. You have to try and try again. Those days that you're driving by a store and you say, oh, it's raining, I don't feel like going in. Go in. Because everybody else might have done that. It's raining, I'm not going to go in. And they're the ones that find the stuff. It's all about timing and being persistent. Don't give up. Like I said, if you're going to hunt toys and be good at it, be ready for failure. Always try to get your stuff retail before the secondary market, because you saw my toy room, and if you haven't, go back in my older videos and see my second bedroom I had, my toy room, my toy museum, man cave. If I didn't bargain hunt on Kijiji and didn't become a toy hunter, I would probably have 25% of that stuff, because buying it on the secondary market is a lot more expensive. Go to eBay last for the stuff that you absolutely cannot find. eBay is always a last resort. The prices are crazy, and do not price your stuff using eBay. If I go to buy an item, a 1/18 scale car, for example, somebody starts talking about eBay sold listings, right away I just say not interested. I go by the prices that are on Marketplace and Kijiji, and what's the cheapest I can get it for. That's what I go by. I don't go by eBay sold listings, because eBay is kind of skewed in the sense of A, they have shill bids, but B, A lot of people rely on eBay that don't have the luxury of close by Walmarts. They live 8 hours from a Walmart, so they can't go hunting every day. So they have to rely on eBay. So that's another reason for those high sold listings. People have no choice. And if they did, they wouldn't pay that. So don't put so much stock in the eBay sold listings. And sure as heck, don't pay them if you can't. Don't pull the trigger right away, guys. See these 2 cabinets? There's a lot of money in there. But I didn't pay nearly as much as I should have. Every single one in there, guys, was hunted down. That Ecto, brand new in the box, $50. Silver Screen General Lee, $100. The deals I've gotten are insane, but you need to be patient. Auto Art Bullet, $100. But you need to be patient. I also do how-to videos, repair videos. I showed you guys how to make your own hovering DeLorean. But yeah, patience is a key, guys. Do not pull the trigger right away. Shop around, shop around. For example, you could see one guy selling the Starsky and Hutch car, like in my cabinet, for $100, and you could see another guy selling the same car for $220 on Marketplace. What would have happened if you paid $220 without checking around and then found it for $100? It's happened to me, guys, and I've learned from my mistakes. I didn't become a good bargain hunter overnight. I've made mistakes. I've bought things off eBay to complete certain collections that I've seen a month later in the paper for $20 that I've paid $50 for. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm a good bargain hunter. It's in my blood. My father was into bargain hunting a lot, into going to Value Village a lot. He wasn't really into collectible toys as much as me, but bargain hunting was in his blood. I definitely get it from him. I love Value Village and stuff. As you've seen about the epic find we found in a Value Village in Kitchener a couple weeks ago. That Lasonic Ghetto Blaster, worth a lot of money. A lot of money. The biggest ghetto blaster ever produced, apparently. There's the clip I make. I even try to make funny clips once in a while for you guys. I come out of my shell a little bit with this. Thank you guys for all the support, by the way. You guys have been awesome. And at the end of this video, you're going to see me show you the mail I've got. I got a cool package a few weeks ago from an awesome guy named Bobby. Sent me green light cars, and we got something to open tomorrow. From our friend Max, aka Dave. Another good Dave. 3 good Daves in my life. It's funny. These are the Daves I know. But yeah, patience is a big one, guys, whether you're on Kijiji or anywhere. Don't overpay. When you buy an item, another huge tip I tell people, they don't think of the exit door. What happens if you have to sell your collection? You come into an emergency, you don't have the space. What happens if you have to sell it? Can you get the money back what you paid for it? You remember how I just sold my whole room full of collectibles? I gave most people a great deal. I didn't lose a dime. Because everything I got, like I said, those cabinets, guys, you wouldn't believe the prices I paid for some of that stuff in there. Way below what you would think, but it's because I don't got an itchy trigger finger. I'll just put it that way. If it's something I like even a lot, I'll put the mentality, like that Silver Screen General Lee at the top I got for $100. I had the mentality I would never own one because I never seen them under $300-400. I said, I'll never pay that for it. I'll never own it. I own a Muhammad Ali authentic autograph. $175. They did a run of 1,000 silk cachet envelopes. A company called Gateway Stamp Company. I paid $175 professionally framed from an antique store. A guy got it in a estate, he said. The framing alone was worth $175. I see the same item unframed for $1,000 US sold on eBay. Now, something like that, guys, make damn sure it's authentic. Autographs are a whole different issue. They're faked so much. It's the biggest faked thing in the industry. Even COAs. This is more general advice. I can make a COA, a certificate of authenticity. Doesn't mean the item's real. You got to make sure it's coming from a legit company. Just because an item has a COA does not mean it's real. And that's about it for the tips, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different. There's Roxanne the Ferrari. And yeah, we're going to be doing another video in the next day or so. I already have the editing cooking up for it. Before I go, another thing I try to do is teach you guys about chases, raw chases, stuff like that. I try to make the videos educational as well, where you're learning something. Not only laughing, but learning and feeling good about it. But yeah, in the next few days, we have another video in the works that I'm going to show you. And we also are going to have a Christmas special coming up, where we're going to have the guys opening some Christmas gifts and showing the tree off. And you're going to get to see the retro Christmas tree when it's done. That thing is a beauty, eh, guys? Zamek Custom General Lee. One of the few things I've ever bought off eBay. One of the things I had to have. Standing in my toy room. Boy, do I miss my toy room. But that just shows you how life can change, guys. So when you're buying an item on the secondary market or anywhere, always think about the later, the what if. What if I have to sell? Can I get my money back or most of my money back? My first chase after my injury, being back on my feet again. Beautiful. Like I said, guys, something a little bit different. Talk about what the channel's about, some tips. On to mail day. Now, the guy that sent this is a boxing fan, so I got him his mail with Iron Mike here because I know he loves boxing. But the man that sent this, Max, I'm not going to say his real name, I'll use his handle for privacy. But this is somebody from the beginning who's always supported the channel, always left awesome comments. One of the reasons that the channel's still a thing, like right from the beginning, this complete stranger's always left positive, reinforcing comments. Keep it up. I've learned something from your video. This video was awesome. Right from the beginning, he's been doing it. And I'd like to thank you so much, Max. I'm always saying to Glenn, I wish you lived in this area, and Glenn says the same. He always says, oh, I hope if he comes to this area, he comes to visit us. And yeah, we hope that happens, because you've become a friend to us over time. I'm tired, that was the wrong envelope. So this is the right card. Sorry, I'm very tired, plus my brain's a bit frazzled. But there's the actual card there. We got the address covered up, because I don't want any crazed female fans showing up in the middle of the night for me at the diecast museum. Unless it's one with curves. And you're good looking. And you're not all skinny. On the real though, guys, awesome dude. It's funny, me and Glenn joke. He reminds us of G. Actually, just his personality and stuff like that. I think if those two ever meet, they're going to get along like you wouldn't believe, but he reminds us of G. It's safe to say that if he lived here, he would be in the crew. He would be one of us, for sure. Because, yeah, he fits right in. Thank you, buddy. And like I said, me and Glenn, I'm trying to cook up something different or interesting. We're going to send you something coming your way, for sure. Bobby as well, if you're watching. I did not forget about you. Remember I said it'll take a bit. I got to get settled. I'm almost settled. So I'm going to be sending you something soon too. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, RetroManiacs. Man, I'm tired. You could probably tell by the way I'm talking and stuff. But just wanted to do a video to say hello to you guys. And I just had that topic just for the people that think that hunting stuff is easy to come by. It's not. It really isn't. Like, I go The only time I find stuff is when the store opens in the morning now, because when I'm on afternoon shift, it sucks because I don't check it as often anymore. So I find stuff in the morning shift when the store opens, but I'm only on that shift every second week. So that cuts me down to when I'm actually finding stuff. Don't get me wrong, I find the odd thing on the afternoon shift, but usually it's only like 1 out of 5 days, if that, I find something. Then I have another collector that shows up in there in the morning. A good thing is he's a buddy of mine. I'm not going to name him, but he shows up every morning. So clearly he's a collector. So if there's stuff there, I'm not going to take everything. So if he's the only other guy there, he takes stuff and I take stuff for my friends. And if there's anybody else there besides us two, they take stuff as well because we're not savages. But saying we're not savages, other people aren't going to show up there and be savages. Something unbelievable that I have to go against that you guys wouldn't believe and I wouldn't believe, but I actually seen it firsthand yesterday morning. There's an overnight cleaner at our store that me and some friends suspected was grabbing, like, basically the doors open at 7 a.m. She's going over at 6:55 with a cart, grabbing whatever, like the cream of the crop, putting it in her cart, putting her jacket over it. While we're walking, when the doors open at 7, we're walking to the toys. She's walking back this way, looking like an overnight cleaner about to end her shift. And while we're getting to the toy aisle, noticing a bunch of the good stuff gone, it's 7 a.m. and she's ringing through the cash and making her getaway. So we have to contend with that as well. So, um, me not hunting the way I used to really limits the stuff I get. So when I'm telling people, sorry, I can't help you or I don't get much anymore, I'm not kidding. Like, I wanted to explain what I have to deal with. Less time because I don't have the time and gas to do it like I used to because I was a savage heavyweight champ before when I was doing it. But life gets in the way, right? But I also only find stuff on the morning shift, which is every other week. Then there's another collector there who's a friend, but he's there every morning. Plus the possibility of other collectors. Plus the inside job going on with that cleaner, and that is no BS. That's Centennial Walmart in Hamilton that's happening. It's an overnight cleaner. Mind you, for the first time ever, me and my friend that I'm not going to name, older fella, nice gentleman, we walked over, we were waiting outside, and a worker walked in and said, it's only 3 minutes early, you guys head in. So we headed to the toy aisle, and I guess we took the cleaner by surprise, because for the first time ever, we walked around the corner, and red-handed, she had a bunch of premium Hot Wheels in her hands. Shouldn't be allowed, but I mean, what she's doing, she's slick. I mean, she can't cash out till 7 a.m., so she's just hiding them under her cart. But while she's on the clock, it shouldn't be allowed. But it's right before she punches out at 7 a.m., so it's kind of like a gray area. But still, she doesn't grab every single thing, and that's the reason that I'm not trying to figure out a way to flush her out, is because she's kind of being fair about it, not taking every single thing. But still, it's still something else that lowers the amount that I get. So basically, I take care of my circle first. That would be Dave, Justin, G, BC Dave if he needs anything. Obviously, Glenn. And yeah, until I've provided for them, when other people ask, I gotta turn them down because I don't got it. Like, I don't got a boulevard tree in my yard. I wish I did, right? But still, people ask me, and still I tell them over and over, like, I wish I could help them, but I just don't have the means anymore. Like, there's too many requests. Like, when I came into the hobby, I was helping out everybody, but it's because I was going everywhere, and I almost had endless stuff. I had a lot of haters because I was putting up pictures of stuff, and people, like I mentioned earlier, got the wrong idea, thought old Retro was a scalper. I think I almost had a friggin' couple hits put out on me by collectors. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know it was a long one, but I wanted to try something a little bit different with you guys. Tell you guys a story, and if you guys thought that was an interesting story, maybe we could do a storyline, because I got a lot of awesome, cool, interesting, but true stories. So all my stories can be verified by people that are alive. So there you go. I'm for real. And I hope you found it informative as well, all the hunting stuff. Crazy story plus an informative video. Anyway, guys, time for Retro to shut down, go to bed. I got the day off tomorrow, but we got an early doctor appointment in the morning. So thank you so much for watching, guys. All the support. Please click the like button for me. It'll keep me doing videos and motivate me to do long ones like this and tell you personal stories about my personal life. Please like and subscribe. Smash the bell notification. And as always, guys, like the goof from Green Hill says, happy hunting.
Last Christmas